You know how I'd start the meetings with howdy? Well, I fact-checked myself. Don't do that because it's real disappointing. I found out that in fact it has not been passed, the bill has not been signed that created howdy as our official state greeting. So thumbs up or thumbs down? We continue doing it anyhow? Thumbs up? Howdy. Thumbs down? Boom! Howdy! Howdy! All right, now I feel like we could get going. So let's see. Oh, also coming up, again, talking about our fundraising chairs. On November 9th, we've got another trivia afternoon, and that'll be here in this room. We've got some real fun prizes as well, so be sure you join us for that. It's at 2 to 4, Sunday, November 9th, right here in this room. Then our next big event is our annual meeting and dinner, and we're going to have that at CPAC again. We'll be in the rehearsal hall. Oh, yes. So I was talking about our annual meeting and dinner. So the annual meeting will be very short, about a half hour at the most, where we will elect officers, board members for the next year. Quite a few have indicated that they will re-up for another 2-year term. But we are still short of board members, so if anybody's interested, it's a real interesting group. Very talented group. Makes my job quite easy. So I want 2 more really smart people. Or more. So anyhow, the meeting will take about half an hour. And so if you only want to come for the meeting, you're welcome to do that. Have a glass of wine, and after the meeting, depart. The rest of us are going to stick around for $60 a head. We're going to have a catered dinner, and with some lovely music in the background. So hopefully you'll join us on that, and that is December 7th. I think, did I miss anything else? Oh, another one. Save the date, March 13th. We're going to have our annual fundraiser, and this year it's going to be a dinner and dance. We've got a group called the Little House of Funk, and they are fantastic if you've not heard them. It's a woman singer, and I think she'll have 6 band members, so wonderful. I've heard her. We're going to have that again at CPAC. So mark the date. No, it's out at Quail Creek, I'm sorry, Madeira Room. Yep. The interesting thing also is that we're going to have a guest speaker by the name of Adrian Fontes. Wow. So be sure you put that on your calendar and sign up for that one. So let's move to Washington, D.C., where a lodge known as the East Wing was torn down. The new structure is going to be 90,000 square feet. It will dwarf the White House by double. How ugly is that? It will be opulent, just like Versailles. It will have multiple chandeliers, Corinthian columns, black and white marble floors, and it will seat 999 people. Why didn't they go for 1,000? So anyhow, it's so similar to what the monarchy did and what he is trying to do right now. Okay, on with our guests today. We have 2 of them. I only had some info on one, but I'll first introduce you to Michael Bryan, an attorney from Tucson. Spent most of his attorney life as a career criminal prosecutor. And he will be talking about
the one big beautiful bill, so-called.
All right. You know what I forgot? I'm sorry. We had a rally contest, and for those of you who missed it 2 weeks ago when we unveiled it, this is it, behind Michael. Wise up, rise up, and our dear friend Gene Buell came up with that. So, there. So, and our other gentleman speaking today is Andrew Seeley. Seeley, and he is going to speak on SNAP.
Yes.
Please.
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I am the LD18 Recording Secretary, and I am a professional public financial analyst.
So, thank you everyone for this warm welcome. Like she said, my name is Mike Bryan. I'm a former prosecutor. I'm retired now. But first thing I want you to know is we're going to be presenting in very much oral argument style. If you're not a lawyer, you may not know, but when attorneys stand in front of a court and make their oral arguments, the judges oftentimes interject questions. And I welcome that. That's perfectly fine. Keeps us on our toes, lets us know that you're listening, lets us know what we need to make more clear. So I'll try and answer those questions as we go. Just raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone. Don't feel at all constrained from jumping in. The one caveat is if it's something that we're going to cover anyway, I'll say, hold on a second, we'll get to that. Okay, so Andrew, my friend here, and I are starting a podcast called Insight Arizona. And it's an extension of Blog for Arizona, which you may be aware of. I started that about 20 years ago. And that's part of the...
Was that inside or insight?
Insight, yeah. As in, you can see into. Our podcast concept is basically to make those public policy issues, which can be really dense and complex for people, and break it down so that people can relate it to their everyday life. And to show our work as we're doing it. And this is an example of the sort of thing that we want to do. We have this presentation here and now, which we're working on, and this is the first time we've given it, so give us a break. Okay. But also at Blog for Arizona, we've published a pathfinder, a tracker of all the stuff that we looked at in order to research this information. So you can go and look at it yourself, and you feel free if you want to steal this information, steal the presentation, whatever, and give it to your own community organizations and spread the word, because one of the big issues is that people really don't understand what's in this so-called one big beautiful bill. They don't understand what the impact is going to be. Only about a third of people have even really heard of the new budget, and that's the reason we're in this shutdown now, is because they're trying to get it through the Senate, and they can't because we're not going along with it. But the more people learn about it, as you inform them about the basic lineaments of this budget bill, 2 to 1, people hate it. They hate it. So the more those people who don't know about it, which is 2/3 of people, learn about this bill, the more they're going to be against it, and the harder it's going to be for the Republicans in the Senate to get this passed, because they know their butts are going to be on the line. So I've taken a little bit of license here and called it Trump's OBBB. It's actually the OBBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, but I call it the OBBB because as you'll see at my website, I call it the One Billionaire Bastard Boondoggle. So let's go to the first slide. And we're going to start out kind of in orbit, first of all. So the effect on the entire nation is going to be huge. But in this presentation, we're going to be focusing on Arizona and how it affects us here. But you should understand that this affects the whole country in pretty much the same way. And what's going to happen is we're going to get $5 trillion of tax benefits given to the top 20% of Americans at the cost of $3.5 trillion in new deficit spending. We're going to grow the deficit by almost 10% with this bill right here. We added $1 trillion this year, the fastest we've ever added $1 trillion to the budget. And the cost, to the extent that it's paid, is paid by the least of us. It's paid by the people who have the least power in this society, and the people who are the most vulnerable. It's going to affect people's health care. It's going to affect people's nutrition assistance. And that's where the major impact is going to be seen. So we're going to go to Arizona. Arizona faces really big impact from this. It's estimated by independent estimators as well as government estimators, even the CBO, which the Republicans haven't managed to ban yet, like they did the Office of Scientific Assessment, 200,000 jobs just in Arizona. A lot of that's going to be coming from the healthcare industry, a whole lot of it. A lot of it's going to be coming from the solar industry because Trump is trying to basically destroy the solar industry and those major investments that the Biden administration made in investing in solar for our future. Over $1 billion in government revenue. Let me separate this for you. This is going to have impacts not just on our government's revenue, how much they're getting from the federal government, but also how much they're collecting from taxpayers, as well as how much they're collecting as a result of the economic activity slowdown that's going to result from this bill. So it's going to have multiple dimensions of impact on our public fisc and on our economy, and it's going to be bad. Almost 500,000 people are going to lose access to their health care because of the absence of ACA subsidies in the big beautiful bill, or big beautiful bastard bill, whatever.
Is it true that costs will go up for those who are not?
Absolutely. If you are an ACA subsidy holder, if you go and look at your re-enrollment, people are saying that their enrollment rates, their monthly rates, are going up 2, 3, 4 times what they were before. And that's what's causing a lot of people to panic, is those 30 people who maybe understand what's going to go on with this bill. A lot of them are them. And they go, I'm not going to be able to afford my health care. What am I going to do? 175,000 people are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And already the governor said the other day, the Arizona government doesn't have the money to backfill that money. You want to talk about that a little bit, David?
Yeah, so we roughly get around 120 million in this state for food stamps. Now, half of that comes from the federal government, half of that comes from Arizona's taxes. So 60 million, 60 million. We are looking at 2027 of having to pay, for the first time, benefits issuance. So that 120 million is just for administration. It's just for getting people approved. It's not the money people receive for food stamps. But for the first time, we'll have to pay for the money that people receive. It's minimum 5%. Depending on what's known as a payment error rate, it could go up to 10% or even more. So depending on this statistic that we collect, we could end up paying like 100 extra million, 200 extra million. So our budget of state taxes goes from 60 million to suddenly needing 100 to 200 million more.
You want to tell us a little bit about why those administrative costs will go up? As I understand it, the reason why those administrative costs are going to go up so high is because one of the ways that we're going to knock people off SNAP benefits is we're going to have work requirements that are very onerous, and a lot of paperwork and administration goes into that, and they're going to force the states to administer that themselves.
Yeah, so there is the ABOD requirement, able-bodied working adults without dependents. They've changed the definition of dependents from being 18 or less to now being 14 or less. So if you're a parent in low income situation with a 14-year-old, you may have to continue working and they may have to be home by themselves in a low income area. So yeah, it could result in people, if they want to stay home with their kids, of course, they may not be able to get SNAP benefits. But the real reason we're going to lose this is, to simply put, the state is not going to pay 200 million, 100 million in SNAP benefits. So they're going to decrease the income threshold.
Yeah. With this MAGA-controlled legislature, which, if you're not aware, MAGA controls our legislature, even though Katie Hobbs holds the governorship, the legislature is not going to submit a budget that has actual funding for those benefits that the federal government is cutting. Let's go to the next slide. Well, I'll address this real quick and see if anybody has any questions. Go ahead.
The 480,000, that's Medicaid?
No, I haven't got to Medicaid yet. 480,000 is people overall who are going to lose health benefits, not just Medicaid, not just Medicaid. Also the people who are currently on ACA plans, so private insurance as well.
The SNAP, would that apply to the other states too? The other 49 states?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, every state is under pressure to get their payment error rate under a certain amount, but every one of them has to pay that 5% minimum. So this is an issue that state agencies are facing across the board, and it is definitely going to devastate a lot of state budgets across this country.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Could you address how it's going to affect education?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a bit. I don't know that we actually have a slide devoted to that, but I will cover that. I'll make a note of that.
Mike, there are possibly 2 hospitals in our area that possibly will be closed because of the Medicare cuts. So, one in New Galles and one in Sierra Vista.
So you're saying healthcare centers are already complaining that they're likely going to close as a result of this? Yeah, that's something we talk about a little bit later in the presentation. Thanks, George. Anybody else have a question at this time? Go ahead.
That no one's talking about the fact that there's Medicare cuts coming, because when they increase the debt by what, $3 trillion, there's something called PAYGO that Obama put into place, which means they have to cut billions of dollars every year out of Medicare.
Yeah, one of the way, similar to how they're doing SNAP, by interposing a bunch of new administrative overhead and hurdles that you have to go through. You basically have to run a jungle gym of bureaucratic nightmare in order to qualify for these benefits every year, sometimes even more than once a year. And they're going to be doing the same thing for Medicaid, which is for people under a certain income level, that they did for SNAP. And that one of the things that is the biggest hurdle is the work requirements. Not only, well, sometimes they won't make you work, but they'll make sure that you document you're looking for work, even if you're not actually working. Going to school or what have you, they make you document that very thoroughly. And they know that as a result of those bureaucratic headaches, certain amounts of people are going to disqualify themselves by making a mistake or getting fed up and just quitting. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I just, for example, helped someone like a year ago just with the paperwork for SNAP.
Yeah.
Because this is
Some first-hand knowledge here.
No, it's just that I just had another friend, and her sister was trying to reapply for SNAP.
Yeah.
And I know how to do that, and they weren't computer literate. So I was at the house visiting, and the paperwork, she had really tried. And so I helped her finish the paperwork, which seemed to me was about 40 pages, as I remember.
Yeah, it's not.
And she had gathered most of her documents, but then she didn't know how to apply all that. So I just sat with her, and we got through that. And then I said, okay, you have a big envelope. Let's get that in there, and I'm going to take that to the post office today. Now, that was probably 2 years ago. And that was an 80-year-old woman who actually owned a townhome, but had a reverse mortgage on it. So if she died, her sister would have no place to live. But anyway, that was the whole SNAP experience then for a senior.
Yeah.
And there's got to be so many seniors that won't be able to figure out that route. Let's have a friend do it for them.
That's not a bug, that's a feature.
Oh my
Not
God.
at all. No, I invited questions, so no, it's fine. And of course, we're going to get a big hit to the growth of our economy because we're investing a lot. We're a perfect state for solar energy and solar energy development, creating new companies, new technologies. And the heart of that has been cut out with billions and billions of dollars of rescissions of existing contracts with companies that were creating that new technology of the future right here in Arizona. I have some examples of deals later in the slides. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Is going to collapse. It's been estimated, I estimate that about $1.1 billion in lost revenue over the next 3 years until we can get rid of Trump, cross your fingers, if Arizona conforms to income tax changes favoring the wealthiest. Let me talk about that a little bit. So when the changes are made to the federal tax code that redistribute a lot of the tax money and redistribute the burdens of the federal income tax, generally, states will follow along and adopt conforming changes. So if that happens in Arizona, which given that we have a MAGA legislature, I guarantee you it will happen in Arizona, the question is whether or not Katie Hobbs can stand up and veto it and negotiate with them to not adopt those changes. Because if they're changed, that $1.1 billion in lost revenue directly from our income taxes will happen over the next 3 years. Then, not only that offense, that we lose $1 billion in revenue there, we lose another $1.5 billion in lost federal funding for those years for Medicaid, SNAP, and federal aid to education. And that's, somebody asked a question about education. Yes, education funding from the federal government with the practical elimination of the education department is going to crater. And a lot of those programs for special needs kids, for building programs, for supporting additional teachers in rural areas, that's all going away. And so it's going to hurt the most vulnerable and rural people more than anybody else in federal education funding. So all that goes away, and that adds up to $1.4 billion over the next 3 years that the state will have to backfill. I guarantee you, we don't have the money. You want to talk about that at all later?
Yeah, like specifically with SNAP, as I mentioned, we are going to see another 100 to 200 million in 2027, but in 2026, in 2026, October 2026, we're also going from that 50-50 split. So taking that 120 million, we're paying 60, and the Fed's giving us 60. We're now going to go to the 75-25 split. So now we're going from 60 to 90, and they're going from 60 to 30. So now we have to pay more of that administrative costs as well. So that's our salaried employees, that's our contractors that we have, and all the different supplies that we have to purchase in order to run our programs. So yeah, it is going to devastate our budget to turn to the state legislature and say, hey, we suddenly need more money in order to provide the same level of services that we have been providing. And given the MAGA control of the legislature, they'll probably look to reduce employment, they will look to reduce whatever they can, and it will probably result in more inefficiencies, more bureaucratic issues. Already I can tell you that there is talks of taking the 1-year approval period and reducing it to a 6-month approval period. So that means every 6 months people have to re-go through an interview to get approved for food stamps.
It's a jungle gym, and they want you to run it, even though you may be disabled. You may be, so poor and so busy you're working 3 jobs to keep things together, but they still want you to jump through all these hoops like a monkey.
I mean, those people, they'll just lose their benefits, because if you're at the high income range, yeah, they're probably going to reduce the income threshold. So if you're on Social Security, getting it, I don't want to say a decent amount, but if you're getting Social Security and that's your main source of income and you're getting a little bit of food stamps, you could lose that food stamps.
Definitely. Now, does anybody know what the state of Arizona's biggest budget line item is? Just shout it out if you know. No, the money that we spend from our budget. What is the biggest line item? The biggest thing we spend money on as a state? Education. Education, absolutely. That is the big gorilla in the room. And when you pull almost $2.5 billion out of our budget for the next 3 years, where do you think that money's going to come from? Historically, the answer has been from education. This MAGA state legislature has proven again and again for the past 40 years as they defunded our schools that is where they will pull the money from, because that's where the money is.
We're almost at the bottom as it is.
Well, no, we are at the bottom. In fact, the state has been sued successfully, I might add, that they are not adequately funding state education. Now they're going to pull $2.5 billion out of that budget. Where do you think that's going to come from?
But isn't the voucher system cratering it?
It is also pulling about between $700 and $900 million a year out of our state public education budget for those vouchers, and there's no oversight whatsoever. But let's not go down that rabbit hole quite yet. So we're looking at a collapse of our state budget, and historically, if we need more revenue, which we will need more revenue, where does this state legislature go to get it? I think I might have heard sales tax, and that's absolutely correct, because that is the least equitable kind of tax. Poor people pay way more proportionally for sales tax in their budgets than do wealthy people. And that's why the MAGA legislature is always very comfortable passing some kind of special prop to backfill their lousy funding of education with sales tax instead, because the poor disproportionately pay it, and they love that. Love it, love it, love it. Have anything to say about that?
I mean, as somebody who isn't making a lot of money, no, I'm not very happy about seeing an increase in sales taxes, especially with how difficult it is. I mean, you told me recently in order to increase the income tax, it requires, what, a 2/3 majority?
Yes, to increase any tax in Arizona, as of, I think, about 1990, Arizona voters, in their wisdom, decided to pass a proposition that says you have to have 2/3 a vote in the legislature to actually increase a tax, but only half, 50% plus 1, to decrease a tax. So we have this tax ratchet in Arizona that you can easily cut taxes, but you can never increase them back up.
Yeah, and this is just going to hurt our small businesses if they end up increasing sales tax because
Absolutely.
they depend on, well, the consumer.
Not only that, but consumer cycles. As you know, when there's an economic downturn, a recession, one of the first things that happens is sales go down. And so sales tax revenues go down. And if a state over-relies, as we do, on sales tax income to fund its government operations, then government budgets crater when the economy goes down, just when they need to be spending more. And we can't deficit spend in the states. We can do it at the federal government. Can't do it in the states. You had a question over here, sir?
It's very common, always has been, that when states or municipalities want more money, they upgrade the real estate taxes. Nobody's mentioning that.
That's a burden shifting, yeah.
That usually is for the education too, and police
Yeah.
education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, that's a very good point, is that a lot of what you're seeing here is an unfunded mandate, essentially. The federal government says, we're not going to fund that stuff anymore, so you're going to have to, state or county or city. And that way, they get to increase taxes at the local level because they're forced to in order to cover their budgets, and they don't get the blame, although they deserve it. Sir?
Thank you. Sales tax, do you know how much percentage of the sales tax is paid by migrants?
By immigrants? Same amount as anybody else. I mean, they're not taxed at a different rate. I imagine it would be proportionate to the population, but I don't know that figure off the top of my head, no. I think there's probably about, if you believe the numbers, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10% of our population are undocumented immigrants or people awaiting status, which would mean that probably proportionally it's that amount of the sales tax. Anybody else? All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, jobs. Now, everybody talks about creating jobs. This bill is going to kill jobs here in Arizona. One of the biggest sectors here in Arizona, and looking out at my audience, you understand why, because as you get older, you use more health care. So therefore, in Arizona, where we do have a lot of older people coming here to retire, a very large sector of our economy is healthcare, and it's going to take a dump on our healthcare sector. It's estimated that we're going to lose at least 46,000 jobs directly from the healthcare sector as a result of these cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and the ACA subsidy results that people will be kicked off their private health care insurance. So it's not just public sector, because we don't really have a public service medical service sector. The state doesn't own hospitals. The state doesn't own medical practices. The state doesn't own medical services. What we do own at the federal government level, and we can affect at the federal government level, is payment for those things. And so all those private sector jobs that are reliant on those payments and on people using their ACA benefits in order to get those health services are going to crater here in Arizona. Now, let's talk about clean energy a little bit. We're already at about $3 billion, and that's just from like 1 or 2 deals. And already we've lost 10,000 jobs from destruction of clean energy investments. These are inked, ready to go, shovel-ready projects that the Trump administration just axed. They're gone. And people were lining up to do this investment. The private sector was investing billions of dollars here in Arizona. And already we've lost 10,000 jobs. We're going to look at probably tens of thousands more as a result of this hostility, irrational hostility toward the solar sector. And we're probably going to lose 100,000 jobs across the economy as direct and indirect impacts as our economy just slows down. All this lack of public money going into public services that people consume is going to slow down our economy, and it's going to result in job loss.
Yeah, it's really, what's so surprising to me from the Republicans here is that they're doing all these cuts, but they aren't really giving the money back at all. We're still being taxed, and yet we're not getting the services that we were getting before. So, this, from just a straight economic science standpoint, yes, this is going to result in an economic slowdown. We're going to lose jobs. And it's hard to even truly get a good understanding of how big the health sector is. That's something that professional economists are trying to figure out, just how big it is. I mean, as one thing that I learned while studying economics at ASU is that healthcare is an economic choice. It isn't just a health choice. If people can't afford to get healthy, to take the time to invest in their health, they will not. So they will forego getting health insurance, they will forego going to the doctors, and so they will have higher costs later when things get bad for them, and they have to in order to stay alive. And then other people will suffer from those lack of jobs.
Does anybody have questions about the effect on the job market here in Arizona?
Does the 200,000 K include the multiplier loss effects from the 46,000?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. In case anybody doesn't know what that means, is when people spend money into the local economy as a result of having a job, they go and they buy rent, they buy food, they buy all the stuff that they need for their families. And if that goes away, it has a multiplier effect on the communities that surround the people who have those jobs that have lost them. Any other questions? Let's go to the next slide. Alrighty, this is a big one, and this has already been mentioned by George back there. Not only will we be losing healthcare access due to the Medicaid and ACA subsidy cuts, and let me remind you, that's not just economic impact, that's lives. People who need medical services, who can't get them, often die as a result of this. This is an issue of mortality, not just lifestyle, not just economy, but people are going to die predictably, actuarially, as a result of these cuts to our medical system. So, as I mentioned, ACA premiums in the marketplaces, people are already seeing their costs go up by multiple hundreds of %. They're doubling, tripling, quadrupling those costs for those private care plans because the subsidies are going away. And one of the results of that is going to be a skyrocketing of uncompensated care. And what that means is that if you're having a medical crisis and you don't have health insurance, you can go to any hospital and they have to stabilize you and save your life. That doesn't mean they have to treat you long term. That doesn't mean they have to fix what's wrong with you. They have to stabilize you. And then they try and get rid of you because that care is not compensated. Nobody pays them for that. That's one of the reasons why medical institutions, hospitals have to have big reserves, is because they pay for that care out of their pocket. And more uninsured people seeking care in an emergency situation like that costs the hospitals a lot. And especially rural hospitals who don't have deep pockets, that means oftentimes they're going to go out of business, which means that a lot of people in rural areas, even some urban areas, are going to lose their hospitals, or their hospitals are going to get snapped up by private equity, essentially, and they'll be priced out of the market. You had a question back here? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
Are these figures Arizona only?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, as far as the premiums go, that's probably universal, but that's what we're seeing here in Arizona.
I just want to know if other insurance companies are going to go up as well, the premiums for other insurance companies, not just the ACA?
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah, that's basic market. I shouldn't say manipulations, but competitors will always try to price just under other competitors.
Yeah.
So if one goes up, everybody goes up because they all can.
Yeah, absolutely. If you see people who are seeking private insurance and suddenly their premiums go up 3 or 4 times, and the competitor who doesn't offer ACA benefit packages, only increases their cost by 100%, who do you think is going to get the business? So yeah, it's a big opportunity for those who are not in the ACA marketplace. So we're looking at, like I said, $1.2 billion in lost revenue over 10 years. Five rural hospitals have already, here in Arizona, have already projected that they're going to close as a result of these uncompensated care costs. So, we're going to have healthcare deserts as well as food deserts here in Arizona as a result of this. Any other questions or any comment from you, Andrew?
I mean, the thing that gets me so worried, and again, you mentioned it up here, it's like if we are losing our rural hospitals, then that means if you're having an emergency and you're in an ambulance, but they have to drive to like Tucson or to Phoenix. I mean, not from Green Valley, of course, but like if you're up north of Tucson, Yeah, that's time on the clock. People can die during that time.
So instead of a 10-minute transport, you have a 40-minute transport, and maybe you don't make it, and maybe they have to air vac you, and they charge you $25,000 for the transport.
And that just becomes huge medical debt, which can devastate elderly populations. And that's why we're seeing so many elderly homeless folks already. So this is only going to exacerbate that issue.
We have a question back here.
Wouldn't that also mean like programs like CASA has, where air ambulance and your area, ambulance drivers and so on that need to take you to a hospital, won't those rates go up as well?
Likely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not familiar with this particular program, MASA, but yeah.
Okay.
I would say generally, all services in the healthcare sector are probably going to go up.
I just want to confirm that, because I lived in Show and then I came here, and, both places are rural Arizona.
Yeah.
And even rural.
Pretty much anything outside of the metro areas is rural Arizona.
But I'm not sure that everybody in the Green Valley thinks that we're rural.
No, you are,
We have to
definitely.
remind
Yeah.
ourselves that we're rural Arizona.
All right, George.
I was going to say, economic input is really affecting the community, not just in the hospitals, but also overall in Huachuca because of the furloughs that are going on. There are many businesses that are going out of business.
Yeah.
But locally here, we're trying to support the Salvador Food Bank. They've already had 65 government employees this month go in and look for assistance in the food banks.
Yeah, the food banks are going to be absolutely slammed as a result of this.
Yeah, definitely. As people get cut, and specifically with the shutdown going on, I believe people won't be receiving their benefits in November, so they will probably end up going to food banks, and then the people who rely on those food banks will also suffer.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how the policy of those food banks work, if it's first come, first serve, or
First
what.
come, first serve generally. But let me tell you, if you have some extra money burning a hole in your pocket, that's where you need to direct your charity these next 6 months to a year, is those food banks are just going to be absolutely slammed as all the people who are losing their SNAP benefits go on, as well as, who knows how long this shutdown's going to go.
And that includes children.
Absolutely includes children.
We will be collecting food banks at all our rallies, so when you see the tote, please bring something to put in the tote for the Salvador.
Or some money.
Yeah, some
Money better.
Yeah,
Money better. Next slide. All right. So we've touched a little bit on the amount of people who are going to lose SNAP and the budgetary impacts of that. But we haven't talked about how that impacts grocery stores. A lot of people don't realize this, but the difference between a rural grocery store closing and staying open is oftentimes the very, very even and steady business they get from SNAP that makes them be able to stay open and operate. And a lot of these rural places are going to turn into food deserts simply because those grocery stores can no longer afford to operate because they don't have that base income coming in. So, and again, this is something that our governor has just told us, that we're going to have many, many more costs for supplemental nutrition, and the state simply doesn't have the money. She doesn't know where it's coming from. The state legislature is not saying anything. State leadership is not saying anything about it from the legislature because they don't want to talk about this topic. So, if you have a town hall with your state legislative people, especially Republicans, you might want to mention this and ask them where the money's coming from. Okay, this is a big one. There's been a lot of controversy here locally lately about aluminum plants and data centers sucking up a ton of energy and raising our energy costs. And that's definitely going to happen. But it's also true that we have seen record inflation in the energy sector, record costs in gas, in electric, in natural gas, across the board. We have seen increases in energy costs to consumers. And that's not just because of what's going on in the budget. It's also because of tariff policies.
And auto insurance is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
People have to have, by state law, the insurance, and if they don't have the money, what are they going to do?
Yeah. It's a bit off the side of the topic, but there is a reinsurance crisis here in America that nobody talks about. And that's due to climate change, largely. People in many states are finding themselves priced out of the home insurance market. They simply can't find home insurance And it's even coming here in Arizona. It's hitting the reinsurance market, so it's hitting insurance markets broadly. But climate change is causing reinsurance issues, and that's going to cost all of you more for insurance in the future. So, and of course that drives up our costs for our industry and for our businesses, because all of them have to pay those increased costs as well. And what can they do? They pass it along to consumers. So you're going to see inflation as a result of it. You have a question?
Yes, but one of the reasons that the energy companies are charging more is because they're building infrastructure.
Yes.
They're using their profits to build solar panels and things like that.
Solar panels and stuff like that, yeah. But one of the big areas that they're having a big driver of the energy demands is like industrial development, which we want. It's a good thing, like the aluminum smelter that they're talking about building out in rural Arizona, and the data centers that are such a big controversy here. The question is, who's going to pay for that new capacity? We need new capacity to expand the industrial base here, but who pays for it, and how is that equity spread around? Are consumers? Residential consumers going to pay for all that new capacity, or are those who are actually using it, the big data centers, the big industrial users, are they going to pay for their fair share? And that is not an answer there, but I'll tell you, 5 of 5 seats on our Arizona Corporation Commission, which approves rate sets, is controlled by MAGA. So you can guess where their priorities are.
Michael?
Yeah.
What is Project Blue? Is that a data center?
Yeah, Project Blue was a sale of some vacant land for a data center just outside Tucson. Or, yeah, it needed to be, what's the word, incorporated, purchased, brought into Tucson for Tucson and electric power to provide them power. And people didn't want it because they saw that already TEP is asking for a 14% rate increase. And they were a little incensed. And so
It's supposed to take a lot of water.
it's going to take a lot of water and a lot of electricity. They're building one in Texas now that draws 50 megawatts, which is half of New York City. And that's just one data center in Texas. Imagine paying for that as a consumer. All right, as Andrew pointed out, we're going to have a lot of new administrative burdens on the Arizona government. This is what he talked about when he was talking about those new administrative staff that are going to be hired in order to administer all these hurdles that they want people to get over in order to qualify for their benefits.
Let me just clarify you there. It's not necessarily that we're going to hire new staff per se. DES did have a reduction in force, but they are looking to staff back up to try to deal with payment error rate. But this isn't the HR one. This budget bill is not going to force us to hire new staff. In fact, if anything, we're probably not going to want to hire new staff.
Do more with the same number of people?
Yeah, basically, and we're going to have to pay more for it. So it's really shifting a bunch of what we used to get from the federal government to the state. And if the state can't do it, then we could even see another reduction in force. So it's going up and down at DES.
Yeah, but all those jungle gyms and hoops of administrative paperwork that they want you to do to qualify for your Medicare, to qualify for your SNAP, are not free to the state. They'll try and pass those costs on in administrative fees and stuff like that, but it's going to cost everybody more. Let's go to the next slide. All right, well, this is a big one. I mean, everybody expected that when the Biden administration was in and we were investing billions and billions of dollars in all kinds of new energy and infrastructure and projects across the state, that Arizona would become the central hub of the new energy economy. And Trump's completely irrational hostility to the sector of renewables in general has destroyed that hope for at least the next 5-6 years easily. So we're going to have lost economic growth, opportunity, and jobs as a result of that. Our economy will not be growing in the way that it was projected to when we were going to invest hundreds of billions of dollars here in the energy sector and renewable sector here in Arizona, and it's not happening. We have just one example, cost us $1.25 billion in investment and 6,400 great paying jobs for Core Energy, which was a renewable energies company that was building plant to build renewable energy equipment here in Arizona, batteries in this case, and it was canceled. The funding was canceled, funding was pulled, the private money went out, and the industrial base isn't being built anymore.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You said irrational. I question the usage because I don't think it's irrational because
it's very simple, simply supports the fossil fuel industry.
Yes. Irrational from any kind of concern for the welfare of our planet, humanity, and our future. But, you know, it does have its proponents, I suppose. You're perfectly correct. All those petrostates that are selling oil, and Russia, you know, surely love Trump's position on fossil fuels. So there you go. And the biggest irony of this, of course, is that rural Arizona is going to be hit hardest by all of this. And you can see it already in the farmers, the beef farmers here in Arizona, who got absolutely screwed by the Trump administration buying billions and billions of dollars worth of beef from Argentina to try and bail them out, bail out his little oligarch buddy over there. He does not care about rural people. He does not care what the impact is going to be. These people are going to be suffering, and a lot of them voted for him, which is the biggest irony. And something that we as Democrats need to be sympathetic about and talk about in order to ensure those rural voters that we understand the problems that they're facing, and we have plans to fix those problems that they're facing, that we care about rural places, of rural spaces, rural communities, and that our policies are obviously so much better for their economic welfare and their families than those proposed by Trump and his OBBB. So I think that's the last slide. Is that correct? Yeah. So it's going to send us into a recession, if not a depression. A lot of people are expecting it to trim about 1.5 points annually through 2029, which adds up to a huge amount. I mean, $15 to $17 billion of potential GDP over the next decade just goes away. And that, in my view, is a recession, absolutely. The question is whether it will cause a depression when this happens all around the country in every state in the nation.
Michael, first of all, I like your orange background. I don't know whether you did that on
Well, it's Halloween and, you know, of course, Trump's face.
My question is, how much of what you're talking about factors in eventually there's going to be more impact in our wallet from the tariffs, and then also we have been losing people in the fields who harvest our crops.
Yeah, no, that's all 100% true. It's outside of the OBBB, except for the fact that they have plowed $170 billion of the savings from destroying these programs into the Homeland Security Department in order to fund new ICE agents. $170 billion, let me give you an idea of that scale. If you take the metro and state police departments of every city and every state in the United States and add it up, it does not even approach $170 billion. ICE is now is more funded than our local police at every level in every community in the United States. And there's a reason for that, is because they're claiming that ICE agents are federally immune. And, you know, for practical purposes, they kind of are, because the DOJ is not going to investigate them. The whistleblowers and the comptrollers are all gone. You know, of course, Kristi Noem's not going to investigate any violations of our civil rights, of criminal laws, by these people who they hire off the streets, give a $50,000 bonus.
If they even get it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been proven again and again that when you laxen standards for law enforcement agencies, you get corruption, you get violation of constitutional rights, you get criminal behavior within the police force. And that's exactly what we're going to get from ICE. So thank you for reminding me of that little sweetener for the OBBB, is we're going to have a federal militia answering to nobody but Trump, who's going to violate our rights on a regular basis. So be ready for that. In the back? Hey, I didn't say I had good news.
My concern, and it's not really a question, but my concern is this is wonderful information for us. And, you know, yes, we need to talk to people who didn't understand what they were voting in.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to say back to them. What are we planning to be able to try to get back to what we were and then improve upon that? I have no answers.
Yeah,
Are
that's what our democratic leadership is supposed to be doing, and they're
But they're
not.
not.
So you need to vote for people who will talk about it, who will give you a plan, who will give you a plan of action. And I'll just tell you now, I don't have answers.
Are your slides available for us?
Yes, in fact, I just, this morning, I put them up at Blog for Arizona, so the slides are available there. All the background research, all the budget analysis that I looked at in order to create this presentation is there. And there's even a nice little section on the OBVB by John Oliver. So, they give you a little grin at the end of it. So go take a look. Thank you for your attention. Is there any other questions?
No, it isn't really a question. There's a tendency for everybody to always say Trump. And we're forgetting that there are all these Republican people we voted for.
Yeah.
Cisco Mani voted for the beautiful bill.
He sure did.
Okay, so
With crocodile tears running down his face as he did it.
I see the only thing missing from the slides is it should say Trump and MACA or Trump and Congress.
Okay, good suggestion.
Because the tendency is to think it's just Trump. It's Project 2025.
That's the Republican Party.
Reagan.
The Republican Party has become, a fascist regime. That's all there is to
From
it.
what I've read, 2025 dates back to Reagan, and this is not the first cut of a plan. It's been honed over more than 20 years. So this is a whole load of people, and Trump is just the front.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, it's a perfect point. Ben?
One more. First of all, I don't understand your blog for Arizona.net.com.
We have all the domains.
So, okay, so any one of those.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, you mentioned your podcast. Is that live yet?
It is not. Me and Andrew are working on getting a couple in our pocket before we go live, but it'll be announced at Blog for Arizona. So keep up with us, and you'll keep up with the Inside Arizona podcast.
One other thing, Mike, I stole off your last blog, the information on the disparity between Democratic registers and Republicans.
Yeah.
So please go to his blog, read it. I have a copy of it here if you'd like to. It's a big problem in Arizona getting Democrats registered.
It is a huge problem, but we are doing better. We're catching up. We've got a big hill to climb. So if there's one thing that you can do to prepare over the next year for the midterms, register Democratic voters. Partisan registration, not nonpartisan registration. Partisan registration. Thank you so much for your attention.
Wonderful. I forgot to mention one other thing when I was comparing the Palace of Versailles with the 90,000 square foot ballroom. Supposedly, it won't cost the taxpayers anything. First it was going to be 250 million, then last week 300, and today I think I heard they say it's probably going to be closer to $350 million for this 90,000 square foot. But it's not supposedly not going to cost the taxpayers because so many of his favorite donors are footing the bill, such as Apple, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, YouTube, just to mention a few. But quite coincidentally, they all have pending requests or lawsuits pending that Trump has filed suit against them. So, but the other thing is, it is going to cost us because the money that they are donating is going to go through the Trust for the National Mall, which is a 501c3. So 10 million in, 10 million deducted from their taxes. So really, it is going to cost us. I hope I get to answer. One thought, I thought, maybe Trump can cover some of the costs himself and give dance lessons. We could all do the Trump. Yes, in the back. Wait. Sorry.
Trump is after $230 million Trump is after $230 million from
the Justice Department.
That what he said he was inappropriately charged for the assault against him in the Russian investigation. So that $230 million is simply taxpayer dollars in addition to everything else that's going on.
Right. And I agree that Trump is a little bit of a shill, but on the other hand, he's really a wonderful shill. They couldn't have gotten a better one. So, again, thank you, gentlemen. It was very, very good. See you next week at the rally, and 2 weeks from today, we'll have another speaker.